Disaster teams in KwaZulu-Natal are on high alert as a level 9 weather warning for disruptive rain has been issued. The rains bring the possibility of localized flooding to low-lying areas, vulnerable settlements, roads and bridges. Let's find out more, and we're joined by Nonala Ndlovu, who is the KZN COGTA spokesperson. Good evening and welcome to Full View. Thank you for your time. Disaster management teams, we understand, are on high alert. Share with our viewers what that means for the province operationally.
Good afternoon to yourself and good afternoon to your viewers, and thank you for having us. The disaster management teams are on high alert, and what that means is we are now having daily meetings where all disaster management teams across the province, across the different municipalities, are meeting daily to share what is happening in their areas, and teams are dispatched to various areas of districts to keep an eye on the situation on the ground. There's also different stakeholders, your NGOs and the other sector departments are also on the ground trying to see what is happening and managing the situation, assessing what is happening on the ground so that should anyone be in distress, then immediate help is available. We must say that we have now received an alert that says that the rains will be subsiding a little bit starting from this evening until tomorrow. We will see less amounts of rain.
What's the strategic plan overall, Ms. Ndlovu, if the weather continues as as it did last year?
Well, the plan is that the municipalities have to keep their halls open so that if any member of the community is in distress and they can't actually be living in their house at that particular point in time, particularly people who live in low-lying areas that are prone to flooding, the halls are open so that they can be evacuated to safety before any damage actually occurs to them and before we have any fatalities. But over and above that, we do communicate widely through different media platforms, and we also have public participation officials loud hailing across communities to warn them of the imminent danger and that people must really be alert and move swiftly into action should there be any sign of danger.
Is there a consolidated sort of, a singular point where residents who are concerned, especially some of those in the low-lying areas, and there have been some areas specifically that have been identified as high risk, for people to access operation in one portal or in one place? What is that resource that we can share with our viewers who live in the province?
It will be difficult to have one resource, as you know how vast KZN is. So that is why we use local leadership and local municipalities to actually be the contact points, because they are on the ground. And if we use one point, then that point might be actually inundated and not be able to assist. But if we decentralize it and make it local in local municipalities, then people get assisted much more quickly and much more easily. And it's people that they can relate to, they engage with on a daily basis.
Yeah, I was meaning more, just in terms of technology, a sort of digital resource that people can go to see where there might be an available hall or where there might be available assistance. Does such a resource exist?
At this point, no. I can't confirm that there is a resource like that.
Nonala, one of the concerns is, and there was a story of this little girl in Pietermaritzburg who was swept away by the river there. Community members, again, making the appeal for people not to cross low-lying bridges and not to build settlements, in vulnerable areas where there might be, even more at risk of having their property and their homes swept away through flooding. What are some of the other warnings that you would like to share with the communities who might be at risk tonight?
Well, the warnings are quite basic, the ones that you have already mentioned, and also in the different households, try and channel water such that it doesn't directly affect the structures or the buildings, the dwellings in your home, so that the water is channeled through the different spaces that move in between the houses in the yards. That's one of the things that we can say people must take precautions and really be proactive in doing, besides actually just making sure that they're not on the rivers. They don't try to cross flooded rivers and everything like that.
Maybe just a final word, Nonala, on the infrastructure rebuild. We know that in flooding situations or in high water volume situations where there's a great deal of unexpected precipitation, you do need the efficiencies of the infrastructure to be able to minimize potentially worse risk and damage and loss of life as well. What can you update us on the state of rebuilding following last year's floods? Or are you caught in a situation where now this is, a compound effect on an existing problem?
Excuse me. I don't have the information at hand with me right now, but there has been quite a significant progress that has been made in terms of rebuilding from what happened last year. Large numbers of communities have been resettled, and they have been provided with temporary housing, and others moved to buildings where they can actually live comfortably as families. But I don't have that information right in front of me right now to say what has happened where.
And just on the status of those who were already displaced last year and their resettlement.
As I've indicated, temporary housing units have been built in some instances, and in other instances there have been buildings that were secured by government, and people have been resettled in those buildings, and they are now living as family units in those areas. So
no more people from last year's event, still sort of uncertain and unhoused?
From the information that we have, all the people have been now resettled, even if it's temporary accommodation, but they have been resettled and they are no longer in mass care centers like in halls.
Nonala Ndlovu is the spokesperson for COGTA in KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you very much for your time.